From the basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
Well, it is that time again. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Fall Jersey. Joe Archino back here with the one and only Big Shot Rob. Rob, we're back in the station 4 years in a row. It's the final ride. We've got some new equipment to play with, but it's only fitting that really doing the first show with all the new technology, it just feels so good.
Oh, it feels awesome to be back. I mean, look, we got a new board, better sound, so I'm enjoying this right now.
Now, it's kind of funny because most of the time when we do the first show of the semester, it's usually this week before we have the Super Bowl. So we've had some memorable ones. Last season we had a fun ride. We had the whole Deflategate thing. We spent a lot of good time on that one. You did beat me, though, when the Denver Broncos played the Seattle Seahawks. You finally got a win on me, aside from the NBA ones. So you went with the Broncos here. So, of course, it's only fitting that we start this one off with the Super Bowl 50 predictions, Carolina Panthers against the Denver Broncos. Now, Rob, I've been pretty adamant about my pick all along. I've always thought it's got to be the Carolina Panthers. I think I really like Denver's defense. I think they have the best defense in the NFL. But in a game like this, I think it comes down to the explosive plays. It comes down to the quarterback who's going to be able to evade some of that pass rush, because we know both of these teams can rush the passer tremendously well. But I think this is a game where Peyton Manning, again, it's just he doesn't have the same physical tools as he used to. And in a game like this, I think it comes down to a guy like Cam Newton. I just think it's his time, and Carolina will get it done. But obviously, you have your own opinion.
Yeah, I'm going with the Broncos in this one, Joe. You know what? Coming into this, I've been talking with people. This is the hardest Super Bowl to pick.
This is a very tough one.
Because you have the two best defenses in the whole NFL. Now you have the 39-year-old sheriff, old quarterback, and then you got the young bull right there in Cam Newton. And I mean, Cam Newton, explosive. Manning, we see it. We see it constantly week in and week out. He can't throw off the back leg, and that's been one of the problems. That's why Peyton Manning isn't as explosive. But I'm taking the Broncos in this one. I just think when you go against a defense like this, I don't think Cam will have that much of explosiveness. We saw what happened to Tom Brady. DeMarcus Ware owned Tom Brady in that game. The Broncos owned him, hitting him about 23 times. So I think you look at this, I think they have a better defensive line than what Arizona kind of threw at Carolina. So I think we'll see maybe Cam might struggle in this one. We're going to see, yes, you know what? You've seen the last couple playoff games with Cam. Cam's been doing some crazy stunts. Now, is he really going to try that versus a Denver team, a hard-hitting team like that? That's the big question. But I think you have to just stick with Denver in this one. You know what? Peyton's obviously not 100%, but he'll still find a way to overcome obstacles. We saw what he did versus the Pats. He did what he had to do. He threw his 2 touchdowns. He set his team up in good field goal range. He gets the first downs, and that's what he has to do as an old quarterback right now.
See, I think that point right there is what still makes me a little worried is Peyton Manning did look like a resurgent self against the New England Patriots. And you know what I saw in Peyton Manning in that game that should strike fear into the Panthers is he played fearless. Like, he had nothing to lose. I saw Peyton Manning play in that game, and he had the look in him, and he played that way where this might be the last game I ever play. I'm going to give my body to every single play. I'm going to give it whatever it takes, because if this is the last time I'm on the football field, then what do I have to lose? What do I have to lose? And I think in the approach of a game like this, that's certainly something that's dangerous. But I'm going to play the part of salesman, and I'm going to try to continue to sell you time and time again. I know you're kind of moving to the finance world, so I'm going to try to sell you on the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to give you one number right here, Rob, 31. The Carolina Panthers come into this game with 31 straight games of over 100 yards rushing the ball. That's the third longest streak in NFL history. Now we'll go to you. We know how good this Broncos defense is, but Carolina has shown the ability consistently. They always seem to be able to get the ground game going in this game, and that certainly helps things with Cam Newton. Can the Broncos snap the 31 streak of 100 yards rushing?
Oh, absolutely. You know what? Obviously, people will go against me right now and say, oh, with the Broncos in the playoffs, what rusher did they really go against? Steven Jackson's old. He has nothing left in the tank. Versus the Steelers, they were lucky. They didn't have a running back that was going to kill them. But I honestly think the way the Broncos were able to crash against Brady, they'll be able to do that same thing against Cam and his line. They'll be able to destroy that line, I think.
All right, Rob, my next salesman point that I'll try to say on is this. I'm Gary Kubiak. I have Peyton Manning as my quarterback. At this point of Peyton Manning's career, we really know you're not going to really be throwing the ball down the field a lot. And we've seen Carolina get out in these playoff games very quickly. Let's say that Peyton Manning it has to really play catch-up in this game, and he's got to hit some big plays down the field. The thing I worry about, and it's really probably the major thing that sold me on the Panthers, is I worry that in a situation that they're playing from behind, there's just not as many options to make explosive plays, to really take advantage and try to be a little bit, try to do risky things. I don't think the Broncos really have those same opportunities to be risky in their play calling like Carolina does. A lot of people have made the point, well, Carolina really hasn't been in a lot of positions this season where they've had to play from behind. So what if they do? And I don't worry about them as much because we know, what is Ron Rivera's nickname? Riverboat Ron. He is not afraid to take chances, and I think with a young team like this that can play so quickly, he can take those chances. I just worry about the Denver Broncos in that regard because I just don't think they have that same flexibility.
You know, they really don't, because you're missing out on, you lose Julius Thomas, obviously, in the free agency. Wes Welker had to go off your team. But I think that it's going to be more, Joe, of a slow pace, 10-yard kind of game, throwing the 10 yards, not going for the deep ball. They're going to have to play it that way to beat Carolina. Now, my thing for you going against Carolina.
We're turning the tables. I like it.
Carolina's had its run now for a while, and you know what? Everybody said, oh, they played without Kelvin Benjamin, their number one wideout. Now, what do you do versus a Broncos secondary when you don't have a number one wideout?
And you see, this is a great point right here, Rob. That's the thing that worried me all along is I kept on thinking, Carolina's going to get to that point where they're going to see this is why you need big receivers. And they've gotten by with the likes of Ted Ginn and Devin Funchess. Obviously, the thing that has helped so much and has been their go-to person has been Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen has been the God-saving grace for Cam Newton. I mean, he is as consistent as they come, his toughness. But, if the Panthers lose in a game like this, I think that's one of the things it comes down to is the lack of talent. I mean, Ted Ginn really during the season had a lot of drops at points, but he's played well during the playoff run. I think obviously that's why the 31 streak of 100 yards rushing has been so helpful too. But you look at what Denver wants to do, and I think that's certainly something that you'd be concerned with. But I just look at Cam Newton's development, and I look at the way that he's able, he makes big boy plays now. He does things where he can manipulate the safeties and with his eyes down the field and make them, his command over the game and over NFL concepts is really gotten to a point where he's at that elite level, and that's why he'll be the MVP this season. But I do agree with you. I think, in a game like this, if Carolina struggles getting the ground game going, then that puts more pressure on their receivers, and they really, Arizona has great skill players in that regard as well. Patrick Peterson probably had the worst game I've ever seen him have against the Panthers in the NFC Championship game. But I think that's a very good point. It really is kind of going to be a difficult one. I don't think you're going to see Carolina coming out in front of and just blowing them out like they have because Denver's defense is too good. They're going to be too well prepared for this game. I think where it's going to be won is, of course, how much can Peyton Manning do offensively? Can he really – the chess match between him and Luke Kuechly is going to be it. And then it's going to come down to can Carolina run the ball and can Cam Newton get enough plays out of his receivers? I think that's really where it's gone. It's not the most simple game plan in the world, but, I think I'm still got to stick with Carolina. But I like you trying. I liked you trying.
Peyton Manning is riding off into the sunset in a positive way. I'm telling you now, this guy is winning the championship.
Well, as a football fan, I would love to see Peyton Manning go off that way because he's earned the way to go out like that. But, I picked with my heart last year, and it betrayed me. Rob.
Hey,
So
and I have to go with your point. I've been listening to your podcast. You did say that they are wearing white jerseys.
I did. Well, here's the. You saw that save. That's the fun. Isn't that incredible though?
That is
know?
amazing.
That is just, and it's funny because every single time, my tradition is to go and buy the team I think is going to win.
Mhm.
It's always like, all right, they're wearing the white jersey, so I think I'm good this year. But it's amazing. The Packers are the only one who
Mhm.
have worn the color jersey. And even now, here's where I'll ask you, Rob. Now, this is kind of, you can't be right or wrong here. You can't be right or wrong with any of this stuff. That's what makes it fun. But Denver opted to wear the whites. They should be wearing the colors. Does that mess up with the streak because they had they chose to wear white? It wasn't it was given to them to wear the other color.
No, it doesn't mess up the streak.
So if they just by merely wearing the white, it doesn't mess up the streak.
Yeah, it might be a
Okay.
positive. Listen, after wearing orange last time, you don't want to wear that in a Super Bowl.
No.
After getting blown out 43-8.
That didn't go too well.
Yeah, you started the game with a safety, and then it was just. I don't even know if we called that a Super Bowl, Joe. We watched that year with Peyton.
It was not.
It was more of a gladiator match, and Peyton was just being like stabbed repeatedly.
Peyton walked into the arena and it just all went downhill right from there.
He was fed to the lions.
Ooh. Well, we will not feed Rob to the Lions because we like keeping him around here. He's a good guy. Rob, you were right the last time we were on this show picking the Super Bowl. We will see if you were right this time. You have time to stick around for another segment.
Most definitely do.
Good, because, I think we've got to talk a little bit about LeBron James. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the Cavs, LeBron. Rob, you've always had a very firm standpoint on the man himself. So stay with us, and we'll be right back.